right. So welcome again. My name is Veronica Aplenc, and welcome to the Center City Residents Association Zoning Committee meeting. We'll go ahead and get started. The CCRA is a 75-plus-year-old nonprofit civic association. As a nonprofit, we encourage everyone to become a member, which can easily be done through our website. There are several benefits to being a member, one of which is being notified of all proposed zoning changes within our area. The CCRA is the registered community organization, RCO, for our area. Our boundaries are from South Street to JFK Boulevard and from Broad Street to the Schuylkill River. Our committee works as follows. First, applicants are to present. We ask applicants address the specific refusals or referrals. We ask for no interruptions as applicants give their full presentation. After the presentation, the zoning committee will have a chance to ask questions. After the zoning committee's questions are completed, we open the meeting to the community. When addressed, we ask that you state your name and address. We ask that you keep your questions succinct and to the variance being addressed. We also ask that people not repeat others' questions. If you agree with someone's position, you are welcome to simply state that you agree. If there's a spokesperson for that is for the neighbors, we ask that this person speak first for the group. Excuse me. We hear from all applicants and listen to all community comments, and then our committee meets in closed session. We vote in one of three ways: oppose, or not oppose with provisos. CCRA never votes in favor of an application. Also, our decision is emailed to the council person, to the ZBA, and to the applicant, and is posted on the CCRA website. Important, no matter how we decide, if you are concerned with a project, we strongly recommend that you attend the ZBA meeting. This is the best way for you to make your concerns known. The CCRA zoning committee cannot express the neighbor's point of view. Only a property owner or aggrieved individual may express their personal concerns to the ZBA. And with that said, we'll open our meeting. We have two applicants tonight, and we'll begin with 522 South 17th Street. So to review, this is an application for the erection of a new 4-story structure with roof deck and roof access structure to be used for single-family household living. The reason for the refusal is that off-street parking shall not be provided for any one-family use located in the residential parking control area, except for parking accessed by a shared driveway or rear alley, which is permitted but not required. I also see that the required allowable maximum occupied area is 75%, and the proposed is 82.35. So we will ask if our presenters can each please take 10 minutes to present, and after that we'll move into questions. So is a representative from 522 South 17th Street here? Can you please unmute yourself? Hello, Henry Clinton. Mr. Clinton, please unmute yourself and go ahead and present.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'll share my screen.
Please do.
Is that visible?
Yes, it is.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Henry Clinton. I'm here on behalf of the LLC, Waybar 520-522, and the owner is on the call, as I believe is the design professional Andrew Menyo. So tonight's meeting, obviously, at 7 o'clock. Our ZBA hearing is November 13th, and I'll walk through the presentation. This is a presentation for a single-family home with a front-loaded garage on a vacant lot that has been vacant according to the zoning record since at least 1959 and has been used, I believe, continuously for parking since that time. Table of contents. This is our PO application, standard form, project information form that we have to submit along with our appeal. This is a notice of refusal, which, as you mentioned at the outset, is the key document. This is an RSA 5 zoning district. Single-family homes are permitted only. We are requesting a single-family home, 4-story structure within the 38 feet height restriction. We have no issues with open space or rear yard. We have two refusals, as was mentioned earlier. One is maximum occupied area. We're off by about 7 percentage points, and that's due to the fact that the depth of our property building is going to match the adjacent property next door. We just thought the backs should be evened up with each other. And then the second refusal has to do with off-street parking. Any one-family use located in a residential parking control area must be accessed, any driveway or garage rather, must be accessed by a shared driveway, a rear or rear alley. We have neither. Again, this is a front-loaded garage. Zoning map indicating, again, as I mentioned, RSA 5 zoning district. The highlighted area is where our property is located. Some aerial photos to give you perspective. This is 17th Street. This is the parking garage for Penn, formerly Graduate Hospital. And this is the vacant lot right here at 520. Some perspectives. This is a view looking south. You can see a no parking sign where the curb cut is for the vacant lot. There's actually 2 cars parked there now. Looking the other way, looking north toward Center City, again, to give you a perspective. Rodman Street is right here, is very narrow at this point. Close-up view of the vacant lot. And again, the no parking arrow indicating where the curb cut is. These are our zoning notices that we posted in anticipation of the hearing. And here are the plans. Andrew, are you on the call? I don't know if Andrew Menyo is here. If not, I will continue to present. If you are here, Andrew, unmute yourself and you can walk through the plans. All right, I will walk through the plans. As I said before, one of our refusals has to do with occupied area. And what I said at the outset is the depth of our building was matched up evenly with 518, who actually has signed a petition of support, which I'll present at the end of the project. We have turning radius that's ample for getting a car in and out. And as you could see from the photographs I showed, there's actually 2 cars parked in the vacant lot now. And I'll walk through the floor plans. So there will not be any basement. This will be a slab on grade, 1 car parking, entrance hallway leading to the mechanical space, which will be at the back end of the garage, accessible either from the hallway or from the garage. Then you have a half bathroom and a full bathroom, and then a bedroom in the rear. You would then proceed up the steps, switchback steps to get to the living area on the 2nd floor in the front, kitchen area, back patio area in the yard. And then you would then continue on the straight leg steps up to the 3rd floor, where we have 2 bedrooms, 1 bedroom. The 2 bedrooms are on the 4th floor, 1 bedroom on the 3rd floor, with a large walk-in closet and bathroom. I would consider this the primary bedroom. Then you would again continue up the stairs to get to the 4th floor, where you would have 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, and then an area to walk up to the rooftop deck, which is accessible from the stairway from the bedrooms on the 2nd floor, or from the hallway rather. We don't have to go through any bedrooms. These are the front elevations. We have a wood garage with some lights to bring to bring light into the garage, mimic with the front door. 2nd floor, 3rd floor, and 4th floor have casement windows, which will open all the way. The rooftop deck is set back the required space of 5 feet. There is a pilot house to access the rooftop deck. It was, when we designed the project, it was difficult to line up evenly with the properties on either side, because they're both at different elevations and because we have a garage. But we are keeping, the red brick look with some solid lintels across the top and the bottom on all floors. And then the rear of the property, I have siding, metal siding on the rear, sliding glass door to access that patio, a small walkout porch or deck on the second floor, and then double hung windows on the fourth floor and casement windows on the third floor. This is our notice letter that we sent to all the neighbors within 250 feet of the property, indicating the meeting this evening, as well as the ZBA hearing on November 13th. This is our certificate of mailing, indicating we did mail out 159 pieces of mail to the following addresses on Rodman Street, 17th Street, Nordane Street. This is the deed indicating ownership. It was purchased in July of 2024. Then we have some signatures of support from the property owners on either side of the property, also 525 and 521 South 17th Street. So that's the presentation. We're available for questions, comments, both the owner and myself. And if the design professional has joined, he also can participate in any questions that anyone may have. So I'll go back to the plans in the event there's any questions there.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I'll go ahead and ask the committee if they have any questions, and I'll just run through the list that I have. Sam Gordon? Sam, you're muted. I think you're still muted.
There we go. Okay. Does your owner own 520 South 17th?
Yes, he owns both properties.
Okay, because the drawing, the rendering has, so he owns the property you're aligning to. Are you renovating that building?
That building, I believe, is going to be torn down, and then the elevations matched to 522.
Okay, so the building you're aligning to, you're going to tear it down.
Correct.
Okay, so the alignment's going to a building that's going to not exist. Okay, that's clear. Okay.
Sorry, can I jump in here a little bit? My name is Andres. I'm the design professional. So just trying to explain that the building that we talk about is the one in yellow currently, correct?
Correct.
So that's the project, but the one that's going to be torn down is the one on the right-hand side.
Okay, and which building are you aligning to?
So we're talking about a different project here, but it's going to be the one that we're talking about right now is the one in yellow, right? So there's going to be a new building also built on the right-hand side of that. Correct.
I had the cursor on the wrong side.
Okay.
Correct.
My mistake. Sorry, Sam.
But I have two issues. One, I've walked the street. I live in the neighborhood. I see no garages on either side of the street in our district. So if I'm gonna vote personally for variance, I want to see something in the neighborhood that looks like what you're proposing. I see nothing. Nowhere is there a garage on the adjacent blocks in CCRA's district. Do you have a reason why we should allow a garage on this one property?
Well, Sam, as I indicated in the photographs, I mean, this has been used for parking for decades. There's a curb cut there, and just continued use of the curb cut that's in existence.
Okay, but there's no garage parking on the street. You agree?
I didn't see any, no, but
Okay.
there is parking on this particular lot. But
Right,
I
on the
agree,
vacant lot.
there's no garages.
Okay, second thing, you're asking for a larger built area that's allowed under the zoning code. Tell me again why we should allow that?
Because we were matching up with the depth of the house next door.
That's being torn down.
Going to be torn down, correct?
Okay. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, great, thank you. Just going down the list, Karen Moskowitz.
No questions.
All right, thank you. Ben Weinrobe.
Yeah, just one quick question, good presentation. The zoning plan shows wooden steps in the back. The other plans don't. I assume that's been deleted.
Can you, I'm sorry, can you ask that again? Pardon me.
Yes, the zoning plans show wooden steps in the rear of the property, and the other plans don't. I assume that that was deleted.
So it's technically supposed to be just like a wooden platform, right? Because there's going to be like a 6 or 7 inches drop from that sliding door at the back. Correct.
So
So
no
we will,
steps going up to the second floor is my point.
Right.
correct.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Bob Lane.
Actually, a lot of my questions were addressed, but what's been your communications with the neighbors? Have you had opposition?
Robin maybe can answer that. I've only attached some signatures from the block. So
Yeah,
Robin,
what you've attached are the people in favor, right?
correct.
Yeah, so who have you heard
That
from?
we,
that is not
people in favor, Bob, that we could get a hold of.
No, but I'm asking, have you heard from anybody who's not in favor?
Robin, can you address that?
Not no, we didn't run into anybody that was not in favor. And then we've also sent out the neighborhood acknowledgement forms. The neighbor acknowledgement forms for the direct neighbors. So the one for 518 South 22nd, I believe also has initial and signed off. So from both, we haven't had any opposition as of
Okay,
yet.
thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Evan Litvin, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Doug Meller?
Yeah, I do have a question. If I had those two properties, I'd be tempted to join them. Is that something you thought of?
Robin, you're muted.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, this is Colin Conway, one of the owners as well, alongside Robin. We did think about conjoining the properties once upon a time, but for us to do a lot line relocation and build one 4,500 to 5,000 square foot home, I mean, that would achieve a very, very high price point. I'd prefer to bring 2 single family homes to the neighborhood for 2 families as opposed to 1.
I can't believe you're gonna tear down a house rather than just renovate it.
So to answer that question, if you ever walked inside 520, you'd understand why we were tearing it down. Typically speaking, we do like to add additions and keep the brick fronts when we can, but 520 is in pretty poor shape, has very low ceilings, there's water damage, it is falling apart, and I think the best use is to bring a new construction home in its place by right at 520. So yeah, for us, when we can, we do salvage the homes, but this one is unfortunately beyond repair.
So I assume you're trying to sell both of these when they are finished?
They will both be for sale, yes.
And what are these solid lintels that I saw on the plan?
So typically we'll try to do some limestone lintels to kind of fit in with the fabric of the neighborhood. So we plan to do red bricks, limestone lintels across just to add some detail and texture. 520 and 522 will have matching facades. So we did try to line up the heights. Again, with the neighboring home that will be built by right at 520, when I say we're going to line up the cornice lines and the depth, we're just going to match it to 520, which is a by right project, single family, no parking, that will replace the current home that is beyond repair.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, thank you. Ben Zuckerman, any questions?
Yeah, I just want to see if I get this straight. The reason why you're asking for more than the required allowable lot coverage is to line up, as I understand it, the front of this with 520 and the rear of it with 520. Am I correct?
Yes,
But 520 will not be existing after you demolish it, correct?
we are going to line it up with the new construction home that is going in its place fully by right. It sits on a slightly larger lot, so we're allowed to pull it back a little further. If you look at Atlas, 520 is on a 60-foot lot. So we by right can pull the project a little further back. So we'd like them to conform on the front and the rear. I think it would make more sense. So yeah, the home going in his place at 520 is completely a by right project. So we're just trying to match up the rears of both.
And that's because it's a deeper lot. Is that correct?
Slightly deeper lot, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you. Rebecca Frisch, any questions? I'm not sure if she's been able to join us on the call. Okay. And so what we'll do now is I'm very happy to call on everyone. Let me just ask a quick question. Are there any other members of the zoning committee? So I'd like now to call on two people first before I open it up to the broad public. And first, I'd like to call on Susan Kahn from the CCRA Green Committee for any questions.
Yeah, thank you. So I chair the Green Committee for CCRA, and I also am head of the PHS tree tender group for our neighborhood. So what we look for is the ability to increase the canopy of the neighborhood, the tree canopy in the neighborhood for all the reasons that I'm sure you understand. And so I object to the garage for not only is it an anomaly for this block or the neighborhood, but it also makes it impossible to put a street tree within 10 feet of that curb cut, which would cut out a street tree not only for your property, but also for probably the property next door. That's a block that is in dire need of trees. I think there's one small tree on the block, and it's all pretty sad looking. I think given that you are asking for an environmental hit by creating more impermeable space by extending the building, that's a second bigger hit by making it impossible to plant a street tree. So that would, our neighborhood is undertreed. A goal for the city is 30% tree canopy, and our neighborhood is less than 12 and dropping, in large part because we lose our mature trees and because of developers who aren't sensitive to the need of trees for the neighborhood. So anyway, that's my objection to the garage.
Okay, well, thank you for that.
Mhm.
I'd like now to call on Marcus Ferreira. Apologies for any mispronunciations. The chair of SSWBA, and could you please introduce yourself and remind us all what your acronym stands for?
Sure thing. It's Marcus Ferreira. You got it right, or you mispronounce it the exact same way that I do. It's really Ferreira, Portuguese. This SSWB is South Street West Business Association. So we are the business corridor that extends from the Schuylkill River to Broad Street, and then primarily on South Street, but we also pay keen attention to properties on either side from Bainbridge to Lombard because it's all connected. And one of the issues that I have is that we are losing an opportunity to repair the urban fabric here that connects the CCRA neighborhood to South Street West, where currently, yes, there is a curb cut, but what we could be doing is leveling out, evening out the sidewalk, likely planting a street tree, as Ms. Khan says, to create a more pedestrian-friendly environment. Instead, what we're doing is perpetuating a suboptimal pedestrian experience on a sidewalk where there are already gaps in the sidewalk because of Rodman and Naudane Street. I live personally at 1620 South Street. This is part of my commute. It's within a half block of the number 40, number 2 bus stop. There's a parking garage on the 1700 block of South. If these property owners wanted to garage park it, they could rent a spot there. I don't see any hardship. In fact, I suspect that what's happening is that the hardship is self-imposed to make up for the lost interior footprint for living space. What they're doing is they're extending backwards, and the lost interior living space is due to the garage that they're putting in. You eliminate the garage, then now you have the square footage within the envelope of the building that can be built without a variance for lot coverage in the rear. And that variance request ends up going away. You'd still probably have a similar, maybe even more square footage. And then lastly, just a couple design questions. Will the pilot house over the staircase match the rise and the run to minimize the impact to neighboring properties, and also any downward lighting or I would request any lighting be downward and capped on top as opposed to bidirectional.
Okay, well, thank you for that.
Marcus, can I just make one comment?
And we're just going to ask that we're going to be brief and quick because we have 2 properties and we don't want to run over time. So go ahead.
Right, I guess it really goes to the last 2 comments. On the adjoining property at 520, the client will put a tree. So right now there's no trees, but on the by right project, they will put a tree there.
They won't be able to with a 10-foot curb cut. It's not going to be possible. And then when you look at there's currently
I'm talking about the house next door, Marcus.
Yeah, I know. No, it's
okay. So I just do want to say thank you so much. I think everyone has made their points and I do appreciate them. I want to hear from other community members as well. We do want to hear from everyone. A back and forth might not be the best option. We have heard clearly that there's a concern about trees. And here we've also heard about there not being able to be trees within a 10 feet of the garage. We've also heard that there's questions about the rise and run on the stairs to the pilot house and light and will there be downward lighting? So that is to say, will there be negative impacts of the lighting on the pilot house? I now want to open it up to other community members. Are there any near neighbors, please, who have comments on this property, 522 South 17th Street? I invite you to raise your hand, and the raise hand feature can be found at the bottom of your screen. All right, going once, going twice. Are there any community members who would like to simply unmute themselves and voice their opinion on the project? Okay, seeing none. All right. Well, I see none, so I'm going to thank everyone for their clear presentations on this project. And thank you very much, Mr. Clinton, for your clear presentation and for everyone else related to the project. We're now going to go to the second project on our list. And that second project, and this is the second property that we're going to hear tonight, is 415 South Van Pelt Street. And this property this is an application to legalize the extension of a masonry fence to a height of 10 feet, 7 inches. And the reason for the refusal is that any fence located nearer to the front lot line than the required building setback, or the actual distance of the building from the lot line, whichever is greater, shall be no more than 4 feet in height and no more than 50% opaque, whereas the proposed fence is 10 feet 7 inches high, and more than 50% opaque. And so now I'm going to invite the representative for this property to present. I think Jennifer Bazidlo is on the call.
Yes, and very good job with my last name. It's Bazidlo, but that was very, very close. So I appreciate that. May I share my screen?
Please do.
Okay, let me just get to the right. Give me 1 second. I have to hold on. I had something else open and it doesn't want to bring up my presentation. 1 second. I'm so sorry.
All right, well, in the meantime, what I'll do is I'll just outline our agenda. We anticipate 10 minutes for the presentation, and then our goal is 15 minutes for all questions.
Sure, let me just close out of this and I should be ready to go. I apologize for that. There it is. Okay. Sorry, I had another PDF open and it wasn't letting me get to this PDF. All right, so we were here, just so everyone knows, we were here once before in June. I'm going to go through the presentation, but I just want to say we have made changes to the plans. Those revised renderings were sent out with our notification letters this time. And I'll get to that. I'm Jennifer Bazidlo. I'm the attorneys for the owner of 415 Southbound Pelt Street. I do believe Adam, who is a representative of the LLC, is also on the call right now. So 415 South Van Pelt is an RM1 zone property. It's about 8,000 square feet and it has 6 buildings on it centered around a courtyard with 32 units and about 45 residents. We are here today to talk about the fence that sits between 2 of these buildings on Van Pelt Street. So a little bit of background. I'm going to get to the picture of what this fence used to look like. So that's the fence of what it was like before any work was done to it. And here's a close-up of it. So this was an existing fence. And the property owners were having a lot of issues with theft in the building and people breaking into the property in the courtyard, stolen packages, stolen bikes, that sort of thing. They had tried several measures, such as replacing the front door with a security door after it had been broken down to get into the property and steal. They replaced keys with more secure key system. And eventually it was realized and caught on video that people were jumping this wall and this railing to break into the property. And so so what happened was they kept the original brick part and had replaced it with these concrete bricks that the plan was to stucco over. Since they were replacing part of an existing wall, there wasn't really a clear understanding that this was needed a permit. And so in January of this year, L&I had cited the project, and that's when we started the variance process. So this is what was there. This is what's there now, which is that fully opaque 10'7" fence wall sitting on with the original brick below and the blocks above. We met with the organization and the neighbors back in June, and people, my general sense was that there wasn't a problem with height, but there was a problem with aesthetics. And so we agreed that we would talk to the neighbors some more and kind of get their feedback on what they might like to see instead. That could kind of be a happy medium to provide the security and have better aesthetics for the community. And through that, what it was suggested, the thing that came up the most was to kind of make it look more like what it had been like, which was, this brick with the metal over it, but perhaps with some added security. If you look in this one, there's big gaps between the bars and the brick wall where people were using to leverage themselves up. And the tines at the top of the fence were going either direction, not just one direction. So one went into the property, one went out, which was also allowing it to be jumped a little bit easier. And this fence was also only, I'm sorry, let me just get to my data here. I believe that this one was, I'm so sorry, in like the 9-foot range. So our proposal, after reviewing with the neighbors and with, the property owners to try to find up with a compromise here, is this revised plan right here. And so there would be 2 layers of the bricks with stucco covering them. On the parts that are, the original brick would be kept. And then there would be 1 layer of concrete brick with stucco covering on the parts that are kind of the pillars here, and 2 layers in the divots. So where it goes lower, that's an additional 1 foot 4 inches of stuccoed block. And it's 10 inches on the top of where the pillars are. And above that would be a 4-foot metal railing, all facing out, so that, and so it's a total height now of 12 feet. The original black metal were 3 feet 10 inches. These are 4 feet. And then they have the additional height here on the brick, or on the concrete block. And what this provides is the additional security of having a pretty solid wall up above the height of where someone might just be able to reach, so they can't reach under and prop themselves up. But then we have openness and more of that original feel with the metal above it, and the additional security of pointing the tines out. So again, it's harder to jump the fence. So you're not having that. I think what people really objected to is that just feeling encased by this wall without being able to see anything above. And so the compromise here was to, you kind of see here, is that you have, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but you can kind of imagine it, seeing here and seeing there, that you're going to have just a little bit of that stucco, and then you'll have the railings above, which I think is a compromise to meet the needs of the community and the needs of the residents of the building. So that's where we came up with. I just wanted to point out again that, because of the location of this, had these 2 buildings just be connected here, there could be a 38-foot brick wall here. The only reason for the refusal for the height and the opaqueness is because these 2 buildings aren't connected. And it's just kind of a weird setup, because you do have all of these different buildings on one parcel, that you create some unique zoning needs and architectural needs to, fill in on a street level where a building normally would be, with something that protects the inner courtyard of this complex. So, I mean, with that, in order of brevity, I think it's pretty straightforward. It's not super complex. I know people will have questions, but I don't think me talking anymore without hearing the questions is going to help. So,
all right. Well, thank you for that. So now I'll open it up to committee questions, and I'll start again. Sam Gordon, any questions? And Sam, you're muted again.
There we go. Is there a reason that you need that stucco portion? Looking at a historic picture of the wall without the stucco and the metal fence, it appears much more attractive to me to have the brick. The stucco is not congruous with other architectural features in the neighborhood. So again, the way the remedy sticks out with the 4-foot wall, this Band-Aid stucco looks inappropriate and unnecessary.
Sure. So it will be matched to the sides of the building. And the reason it's necessary to have something solid there is because people were using it, we have it on video, to reach over that existing brick wall and kind of use that space in between the metal and the brick to propel themselves up over the wall or any open space. So we needed the solid part to be a little bit higher to prevent people from being able to leverage themselves up over the fence. The whole reason that the original this original fence was changed was because there were people regularly hopping over and breaking into people's apartments and stealing things from their apartments.
Right, but you're only proposing a 10-inch CMU, which is
Sorry to interrupt. Can I just
Adam,
chime in?
yeah.
Adam.
This was recommended by the contractor who's going to build the fence. He said that he needs a base to anchor the bolts into. He said that the brick itself isn't the strongest. He wanted us to do like a poured concrete. So I said, well, what if we just cut the wall and leave the CMU that's filled with concrete? Could that serve as the base? And he said that'd be fine. So it does have like a structural integrity for the fence, for the metal fence.
We'll see. I'll leave it to other members of the committee.
Okay, Adam, I would just like to say that we could also discuss, and I know we had been discussing before, the covering of that particular portion, either, you know, maybe some sort of cladding or something, if that's really the issue, but it does need to be a solid portion there at the bottom of that metal grating.
And I'm open to, we could paint it black, we could paint it red, we could paint it the same color as the stucco, if that'll look more appealing, but we need some sort of base for them to anchor the fence into.
Okay, well, thank you. Those are helpful clarifications. Karen Moskovitz, any questions?
What is the reaction of the neighbors been with this?
So I had been in communication with Charles Goodwin, who I do believe is on the call, so I won't speak for him. I know that he had expressed that he wanted the metal grates. I had sent him these plans. I hadn't heard back from him yet. So, Charles, I'll leave it up to you to talk about the neighbors' reaction, because I know you were talking to the other neighbors as well.
That's great, and thank you for that. And we will get to the neighbors, including Charles Goodwin and everyone else.
Great,
thank you. Karen and Moskovitz, any other questions? We'll move.
No, that's all.
First. Okay, Ben Weinrob.
No question.
Okay, Bob Lane.
Yeah, I have a couple. What I totally understand the desire, I have it too, where I live, for security in living in the city. What is unique about this property? Are you that is more dangerous or more vulnerable because you have a fence there than all the other properties in Center City that have walls that and fences that comply with zoning? What's unique about this property?
I think the unique thing about this property is, if we can go to the overhead look here, hold on one second. And let me just zoom in a little bit. We have a really, so this is all one property here. It consists of 6 different buildings, right? And there would normally be, you know, if this was the typical street, there would be a building here that would be 38 feet tall. Because we have this large stretch that's not a rear yard, it's facing these other buildings here, and it does access 40.
No, I understand that. You made that point very clearly. What I'm trying to say is why, I mean, there's fences and walls all over the city, back, you know, in the backyards or whatever, that people can jump over. Some put horrible concertina or razor ribbon, which is not desirable. But I'm just saying, building a massive wall like this to protect yourselves, what is different or unique than anybody else with that same vulnerability?
Sure, and I would say the difference here is that it's more attractive to crime because it's not a single person's property. It is 45 people's property. I would also say that there was an existing wall. We had a grandfathered in wall that was 10 feet tall. And it was still, people were still hopping it. So clearly there's an issue with this particular location, because we already had a wall and fencing that was much higher than allowed by right. And we were still having people hopping it.
Have you introduced any police reports? Are there police reports as to the volume of crime here?
So I can show you, we have on the back of our presentation here, just a sample of emails and text messages from tenants complaining about people having problems with their packages and bicycles and such being stolen. So that was one person. This is another one.
I know, I share the problem. Packages are stolen in front of my house and all my neighbors all the time if they're not there.
And I think
that's not all from within the property.
Yeah.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's not
great.
the front, it's inside where
From
people
within the property.
I understand. I understand.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, thank you for that. We'll move on through other committee questions. Evan Litvin? Any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Doug Miller?
Yeah, who own, does one person own these homes? Or they're separate homes?
They're rental properties, but it's all one parcel. So Adam, would you like to explain the ownership of the property?
Yeah, so it's 32 units owned by an LP. I'm one of 4 members of the LP. But yeah, it's one like property, I guess you could say.
So you're responsible for the cost of whatever you're gonna do. Are the neighbors in alignment with this? The people who live on this property?
I think Jen can speak to that, but again, we're proposing to return the fence to how it looked before we built the cinder block. It's minorly adjusted to be a little bit more secure. I think that's a fair ask given what we've experienced, but I don't understand what's your.
I think he's asking about the tenants, and the tenants absolutely want the property to have more security. They've been reaching out to Adam and his partners constantly prior to the addition being built on the wall, expressing that something needed to be done, if that was your question.
That was, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm with Sam about the aesthetics. I mean, there are ways to put in a fence that would be much more attractive than what you've proposed here. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Ben Zuckerman, any questions?
No questions.
Rebecca Frisch, any questions? Not sure if she's able to join us on the call.
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. So now let's turn to the community. And I see a raised hand, Charles Goodwin, and I'm going to invite every other community member who's interested in making a statement to raise their hand. We had a chat statement by Molly Lale. Apologies for any mispronunciation. So I invite all interested community members to raise their hands. So Charles Goodwin, if we could please start with you, and if you could state your name and address for the committee, and then tell us your questions.
Oh, sure. My name is Charles Goodwin. I live at 2127 Pine Street. Received a notice about this. I've sort of been coordinating for the neighbors. So actually, I think Molly should probably speak before I do, since otherwise I'm really just picking up for other people. And I don't know how you guys want to handle that.
Well, if there's a spokesperson for the neighbors, we'd like them to go first.
Yeah, I hate to self-appoint myself, and all I've been doing is running emails. I would say the only reaction I've had from any neighbor to the proposal, I mean, everyone, to sort of put some more perspective on this. This is actually a nice, lovely little courtyard with, unfortunately, the rendering doesn't have the trees in it, which when the metal fence was there, you could walk down the sidewalk and look into the courtyard and you'd see all these lovely little trees, or lovely large trees, as you could see in the satellite photograph, which is really quite contributing to the block. I think everyone was content with the prior arrangement, which was a masonry or a brick fence overtopped with a metal fence. And again, no one has had any complaints save one thing about the proposed replacement. Everyone seems to be favorable to it, except for, well, that little gray stripe in the middle where the metal fence is being anchored, and some people, 1 or 2 people have expressed dissatisfaction with the appearance of that. I don't know if it would be feasible to perhaps put something like tiles or something, a decorative element over the top of, or on the facade of that concrete to make it more attractive. I suppose you could try, like, you know, some masonry veneer, but I think that would probably clash horribly with the existing brick. Speaking solely for myself and my own design sense, otherwise, no one has really, we were fine with the way it was before. So, and this is not materially different from the way it was before, except making it a tad more secure.
All right, well, thank you for that.
I would just like to say that we would like to, the original proposal was not to leave it gray, or what we're not thinking it's in the rendering gray, but it would the initial thought was to match it to the stucco, like this kind of red stucco that kind of mimics the brick, so it wouldn't stand out quite as much.
Well, but I was thinking like some terracotta tiles or something like that that you stick on the front there.
All right, understood. You would like some sort of element other than just the stucco.
Right, or you know, some various Turkish tiles or what, some, you know, it's functional, but decorated.
Understood.
Okay, well, thank you all for that. Molly Lale, I believe, has her hand raised, so apologies for any mispronunciations. I invite you to unmute yourself and tell us where your name and where you live.
Thanks. I live on Van Pelt Street, Molly Lale, and I think I speak for most of the neighbors. We were kind of horrified with the install because it was so bad. There's a middle section that looks unrelated to the sides. I'm just wondering, I've got to wonder how the fence was affixed before without the concrete and stucco.
Oh, well, thank you for that question. And in terms of this updated proposal, can you share your questions or your views on it?
I agree with Charles. It seems okay if you're going to make the concrete block a little less obvious.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you for that.
And I'd also want to say one more thing. A lot of the problems with the thefts was the problem of the front door not locking. There was an anteroom that was constant. Anyone could go in there. I could go in there at any time. And I think a lot of the thefts were due to that, not necessarily if you have a video of someone going over the wall. Great. But, you know, I must say that the front door did not work for a long time.
Okay, well, thank you for that.
Sure.
The front door has been addressed and there was still a lot of thefts going on afterwards. And that's when the idea about the fence came up, so.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any other community members who would like to ask a question or state a position on this project? I invite you to unmute yourself and share your point of view.
I have one more.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the owner seems amenable to suggestions, and I'm just going to, in similar situations, I'm an architect, I think a limestone cap would be both attractive. It could be real limestone or cast limestone. It would put a waterproof cap on top of your wall, which would be both functional, decorative, and allow the person to anchor the railing to. Would you be amenable to that rather than that stucco wall?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to like send some options, obviously I want to do something that's relatively cost effective and not spend crazy money. Obviously we're going to be investing a lot in rebuilding this the proper way and the way to appease the neighbors. And if you could just send me, because I think I know what you're talking about, but if you want to send me like exactly and I can look into it. And yeah, I mean, obviously I want the neighborhood to look great. So
you know your mason, you want a limestone cap, he should know. If not, you can reach out.
And Sam, for those of us who aren't architects, what will a limestone cap look like?
Actually, it'll look like the back of my house where I put a deck.
Well, that's great. And for the rest of us?
Sorry. It's a traditional treatment for the top of a brick wall. So brick is very porous, and if it's left open, water can get in and freeze, fall, and deteriorate the wall. So a limestone cap, I'll try.
What color is it?
A beige. It's a beige cap, and it's a traditional cap for a wall. You have an image, Ethan, or I'll look for one while other people are talking.
That's great. So
I think I found an online image of it, and basically you see these all over town. It's basically like a little flat stone cap that goes at the top of a wall.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Let me call on Ben Weinrob, a fellow committee member, and then back to Charles Goodwin if he still wishes to speak.
Not an architect nor a security consultant, but I would reference, I know it's slightly different scale and size project, but courtyard at 1706 Rittenhouse, obviously, well, you know, perused by everyone before it went in, I would almost consider, your problem is lack of visibility. Everyone's going to try to get over a wall because they know once they make it, there's no visibility to the street. Any idea, and I don't know what the neighbor's opinion, keeping the brick pillars and putting metal fencing between all of them and really be able to see the trees. And also anyone who attempts to jump over knows that they're in plain view. Just something to consider. I don't think 1706 has a security issue with their fence.
Okay, thank you for that.
I will just add that I had talked to the neighbor across the street and they wanted more brick, not less brick. So
okay.
Just as, I don't think he's on the call, but I just wanted to reflect that. So
okay, thank you.
And I just put up an image of what a limestone cap looks like in the chat, if anyone cares to take a peek at it.
I don't think it's actually dropped in the chat yet.
It's showing as a direct, oh, goodness, it's showing as a direct message. Let me.
If you want to share your screen, I stopped sharing mine too, if that's easier for you.
And dropping it in the chat, I think, is also a good option.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just put one in the chat.
Thank you, Sam.
Yes, yeah. What Sam's got, you can't see it. It's the little top at the top of the brick.
So it's the gray. It will be the gray.
It's a little dirty in this picture, but it's a gray stone cap on top of a brick wall.
So I see. So it's like a narrow gray band. Got it.
And it's limestone, not stucco, so it'll hold up a lot. It's what's meant to be used in this situation.
Got it. Okay. Well, thank you for that. Now, are there any other questions from the committee or any other points? Or from community members? Ben Zuckerman, I saw you raise your hand.
I thought I heard you say two different numbers about the height of the proposed fence with the railing or whatever you call it on top. What's the total height? Is it 10 feet, 7 inches?
12 feet now.
Now it's 12 feet.
Yes.
Okay, that's different.
So it's yes, because we changed the plan. So the brick wall is staying the same as hold on, let me actually bring up the rendering because it'll be easier to explain. One sec. Not the rendering, but the plans.
And can we just interrupt for a clarification in terms of just following up on Ben's question, in terms of what is in the refusal, we understand that the application is to legalize the extension of a masonry fence to a height of 10 feet, 7 inches. Mm-hmm. Is that what you're applying for?
We will be asking for an amended refusal if this is something that the community will support.
So you need to ask for an amended refusal.
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's a different height. It will be less opaque than the original proposal, but because of that existing brick wall, it'll still generate an opacity refusal too, because that's over 4 feet.
Well, excuse me, but I don't, as a committee member, I don't know how we can vote on something that's not before the zoning board. So we need to see the amended refusal, the amended appeal, and otherwise we're voting on what's on the record right now. Is that not right, Wade?
There won't be an amended appeal. There would just be an amended refusal, and the refusal would be based on these plans.
Right, and thank you for that. And so I wonder whether our council can weigh in on this, because I had the same question, Bob, whether can we vote on something that is not going before the ZBA?
Well, let me ask this question. In addition to an amended refusal, are you planning to also submit a proviso with an amended plans?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Honest, I mean, our preference would be to see that again. I know that, you've already, this is your second bite at the apple with us. But it would help us to see what the new plans would look like.
So these are the new plans. This is what would be submitted. And what I would just say is that if we are going to meet again before January, I would like the feedback that we would receive on these plans because I don't want to go through amending everything if this isn't something that the neighbors are going to support.
When's your zoning hearing in front of the
January
ZBA?
29th right now.
Oh, okay, so you got some time.
Yeah.
Tons of time.
Yeah, we continued it once already, just
Okay.
because we wanted to continue to talk to the neighbors.
Yeah.
And so I understand, I guess, if you want us to come back again, but I would like maybe some feedback from the committee, like formally, about what they would have submitted, because I just don't want to go with these plans if this is something we still need more revisions.
Well, we could talk about that during executive session, and Jennifer, I can reach out to you after I have a
Great.
sense of where the committee stands on this. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Great. Okay, that was very productive. All right. If there are no other points, I'm going to thank everybody for having participated. The committee now will move into closed session. And so if you are not on the committee, I invite you to go ahead and leave the meeting, and you'll be able to read what the decisions, what the vote is of the committee on the CCRA website. So thank you everyone who presented, and thank you for attending.
Thank you.
I'll stop recording now.